Welcome back, everyone, to Aspire to Lead, where we will be discussing the visions, inspirations, and experiences from top educational leaders. My name is Joshua Stamper, and you can connect with me on Twitter or on Instagram at Joshua_Stamper. All right, welcome back, Aspire Leaders and Teach Better family, for, the 31st, Jeff Gargas. I cannot believe this, 31st Aspire Mailbag with my good friend, Teach Better teammate, and the COO and co-founder of Teach Better, the wonderful and marvelous and was colorful Jeff Gargas.
Wonderful, marvelous. Was colorful because I forgot that we do video on this, and I initially showed up in a very colorful hoodie that I didn't feel was the right fit for this. So I actually went complete opposite, went with a button up instead. So,
you're like
which
a
is not,
man.
Josh knows this is not normally what is worn when I'm just working at home at all. It's usually the big, bright, colorful Disney sweatshirt. So if you're listening and you think I should have kept the Mickey sweatshirt on, please let me know and I will change in the future.
Yeah, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, please make sure that you're putting in the comments how much you would have rather seen the colorful Jeff Gargas, because it was rocking. I felt better. But he's business. He looks like he's about to go and speak at a conference. This is actually your conference wardrobe, isn't it, Jeff?
This is, yeah. I mean, I'm in a black button up and jeans. So yeah, I would probably change my shoes. I've got some rough kicks on. I would usually do something different on my feet. But yeah, this is it. This is about as I'm going to use it fast, like a little fast and loose, but as good as it gets. I think good's the right word. But as done up as it gets. There have been times in my life, Josh, believe it or not, where I will wear this, but also put on a tie.
Oh, wow.
And a few times here and there, even a jacket, like a suit
I'm trying
jacket.
to think if I've ever seen you in a tie. Was it when we went to Las Vegas for that conference?
No, I don't think I did a tie.
That?
No.
Oh, my. Okay.
I'll do a tie, obviously. Like if we go to a wedding or something like that,
Sure.
I'll wear a tie. I wear ties if I go to church. I'll wear ties if it's like, but even like if it's a fancy restaurant, I like that has like a dress code, which I can't even remember the last time I went to one of those. I might wear a tie, but I would probably get away with this, maybe a jacket on top. But yeah. Anyway, this is not supposed to be about me and my wardrobe. I am definitely not someone that should be focused on for fashion in any way, shape, or form, other than to maybe insult.
Well, I was about to do that, but you changed, so I can't, go with my
I know.
shtick, but
I asked if you wanted me to change or if you wanted to make comments about it, and you were like, well, kind of both.
I think the mischievous grin on my face was enough motivation for you to change. But
I think for those knowing you was enough, Josh. But go on.
Well, I'm currently wearing a flannel because we just keep getting snow here in Colorado. We have already had 9 inches, and we're supposed to get 3 to 5 more. Yeah, so my kids are loving it because this is the third day that they've gotten off of school. So it's going to roll into the weekend with 5 days off. So our house has been bouncing. But enough of that. For those who may be listening for the first time on the Aspire Mailbag, we reached out to you, the listener, to ask you for leadership questions. And I've been doing that via Twitter, Instagram, and Voxer for all 31 episodes. And in the past episodes, we've answered anywhere between 3 to 5 leadership questions. And today, Jeff, we are going to touch on 3, if we have time, maybe 4. Because I do have a scenario that was texted to me that, we may or may not get to. So we'll see. You ready?
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let's do Jay Posick. Wonderful Jay. I love him. He's been with the podcast and Mailbag for a very long time. Great dude. He asks, how can you make sure you connect with students and staff consistently in order to make a greater impact?
I think this is a great one because this you can extend this to any industry anywhere, and obviously students would be different. But how do you connect with employees better, with customers better, with anything better, right? And I don't know, Josh, if this is going to come across as just super simplified, but like the reality is the answer is to make it a priority.
Yeah.
I think from there, you also then have to create systems that allow you to, or not allow you to, but systems that help you continuously make it a priority specifically on the days or during the times where it's hard to figure out if anything can be a priority, right? When things are on fire. So I think sometimes we note some of that stuff and we say, I want this to be authentic because I truly mean it. I want to connect with them, not just because I'm quote unquote supposed to, but because I want them to know that I'm here for them. I want to build relationships. I want to get to know them. And so we're like, well, so I don't want to make it a check that I make off. I don't want to check it off because it shouldn't be a task. It should be authentic. But the reality is you have a lot of stuff on your plate as a school leader, a lot. There's a lot of check boxes to hit. Some of them are things that are really important to you and that you really believe in. Some are things that you just have to do. The reality is things can pile up, things catch on fire, whatever. So in order to make something that you truly believe in be a priority, you have to put systems in place that make it so that it can be a priority, especially when things are trying to push it out of its way, right? Because then what happens is we don't set those systems up because we're trying to be authentic, and then we go 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks before we know, we're like, oh my gosh, I barely checked in with anyone. I didn't do the communication that I believe in because this happened, that happened, everything else. So make it a priority and then create systems for yourself that help you maintain that consistent priority on the days that you can't, or that you might not, or that the days that are harder, right? Because then you'll actually be able to do it. So that's my gut reaction to that one.
No, I love it. And it actually ties in. I'm going to state this one, Jeff, because we have this one from AJ Bianco. He asked, what is something at the top of your to-do list each day that is a must for you? And I would say this is it. Creating connections and building healthy relationships with stakeholders. Yeah. So your students, your teachers, your parents, and your community, like making sure it's a priority every day. That's a must. And I know for myself, when I was administrator, like I felt it. If I was stuck in my office, I was in meetings and I was, having to deal with all the fires for a variety of different reasons, and I was stuck in that front office, it crushed me. Like I felt it in my day. It was not fun. I thrive on those relationships and connecting with people. And so like for myself, that must, and that one thing that I had on my board every single day was get out of my office and just have authentic conversations with folks, get to know what's going on in their life. And then eventually, like for what you were saying, making a system for it, I did build a system, and I've talked about it, I think on this podcast before, is, having those relationship walks of getting out, having conversations with my staff, but then also taking data. Because for myself, I was thinking, it doesn't feel like I've connected with the entire staff, and specifically those further away from my office, because it's harder to get down to those areas of the building. Mm-hmm. So let's track it. Let's see if that's actually occurring, and making it, yes, a priority, but two, making a system to make sure that I'm blocking out time in my calendar. Yeah. Getting with my secretary and letting them know, like, this 15 minutes that I'm about to go out, I don't want to be interrupted, like make sure that this is sacred time. And then also making sure that I'm connecting with folks consistently, because it's very easy just to even have a small radius around your office of, okay, I know I can connect with
once you can pop out right in between
pop out
things.
real quick. Yeah. But the second floor across, or the gym teachers that are on the other side of the building, like it's really, you have to be intentional to get your butt out and walk all the way over there to make it happen. So yes, I love what you're talking about as far as being intentional, but then also having a system to make it happen.
And I think if one nice job tying that into a question that wasn't necessarily on our list today. That's
a bonus.
But this is, you mentioned the data. I think data and that type of stuff is another thing where I think we get in our heads and we go, but all right, so now I'm collecting data too. Like, how authentic and real is this? The reality is your system can be set up to do multiple things. You can collect data because that's good for you as a leader from both a EQ level, but also just a data-driven logistics level of understanding that you can have a system in place that says, I need to go talk to Josh because I want to talk to Josh. So I put it on a list so that I make sure I make time to go do it. When you then go interact with your staff, that's when the authenticity needs to come through. Don't have planned, I'm going to ask everybody these questions necessarily, right? That's where just go have the conversations. But your job is busy, it's important, and it changes literally second to second. Put a plan in place, be intentional about it so that you can go make it happen. So
I'd also say just the last piece is just make sure that it's without interruption. I know schools can be chaotic, and I know for myself, my radio was going off all the time. My phone, I was getting text messages. My watch was getting pinged. Like a lot of things were potentially getting in the way of that. And if you allow those distractions and those pieces to interrupt the interaction that you're having, it could come off unauthentic, that they're not important. And that's the last thing you want to do with your students and with your teachers. So I would just say that, whatever time you carve out, and it doesn't have to be long, it could be just like 3 minutes, whatever time you're carving out, just make sure that it's without interruption.
Yeah. Don't just phone it in. They'll feel that.
Students, especially teachers too, they know if it's just a song and dance or if it's truly an interaction that you want to occur.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcasts. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, I'm going to add this one to the green for those who are watching on YouTube. So this is from Alana Gilliam, wonderful assistant principal out in Arkansas. She asked, what are some ideas to help build future leaders with your school? And I love this question so much. What do you think, Jeff?
Give them opportunities, which again sounds simple, right? So to go a little further on that, look for the opportunities to delegate in a way that is not just about getting it off your plate necessarily or off of someone else's plates, but rather delegating the things that give them an opportunity to learn new roles, to take on decisions, to take on challenges, to potentially fail when there's something at stake, so that they have that experience, and for both good and bad, in order to learn and grow as leaders. So they also feel that, which is going to give them the confidence to try, the trust in you to come to you to become a leader, and the experience to decide whether they want to continue pursuing that and things of that nature. So I think it's as simple as give them opportunities. I think in more depth is look for the opportunities that are going to actually give them the chance to explore leadership and or grow as a leader within the realm of what you're doing.
I love what you said, Jeff, and I agree 100%. I know it's very easy for administrators to look at what tasks can be done by those who are seeking to be an administrator someday. And it typically falls in with like cafeteria duty or going in to an event after school and being admin on duty. And, you know, in the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at the objectives of being a principal, right, the assessment at the end of the year of, you know, are you doing a good job as a leader? If you look at those, a lot of times we don't actually give opportunities to our aspiring leaders in the ways that actually will prepare them for the job. And then what occurs is once they do get into that role, then they're learning on the job, and that's really, really difficult. So I would just ask that you're just assessing what are the opportunities that you're providing. Is it the same thing, and is it usually just typically supervision of an area? Because if it is, that's really not what the whole overarching job title is, and the roles and responsibilities. So I love what you're saying. And I just would ask that if it's formal or informal, that whatever jobs and tasks that you're providing for them is truly giving them an idea of what the job is. Because if it's only on supervision, one, they're going to get burnt out on it. And two, they're going to think, okay, this is what the job is. I don't want to do this because it's not fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's so much more than that.
If I can add to that, Josh, I think our gut reaction is to lean into what we already know that they're good at.
Yeah.
But the reality is your job as developing leaders is to find the strengths and the passions and the skill sets that they don't even know they have yet and unlock those. Now, that's going to require you to be uncomfortable, giving them an opportunity to mess something up.
For sure.
But it's also going to give them that opportunity as well. So this is one of those areas where like, give them the opportunity, but like you need to be like trust but verify, trusting them to do it, being willing to pick it up if it gets dropped or doesn't go right, but letting them have it. And so I think obviously lean into the strengths when you can, when there's opportunities, but look for those opportunities to stretch them a little bit too. And to Josh, I love your point of like, and don't just go, what are these simple, easy tasks going to do? Like give them the tasks that have a little bit of weight, maybe not the first time. You can ease into that process. And then also, I was just thinking as you're talking, like, bring them into conversations like that. You got to be careful with the politics and stuff. I understand that. But like, give them the opportunity to not just do jobs and that, but also be a part of the conversation. Even if it's just a quick one-on-one having a conversation and they don't even realize it's a leadership thing. It's just you getting someone's ear. I think those are also opportunities for you to start instilling thought processes into them. Because you ask them about something that they're not even aware is a thing that needs to be decided on. Now they start to learn that, to your point, Josh, that, this is a lot more than what I see.
Yep.
I didn't know that that's something that we even thought about in our school because I don't even know what that is. Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, okay, interesting, right? And so I think that's a key point. I love how you touched on that. Like, don't just make it the easy things to stick them on because that's just not. To your point, that's not the job.
It's not the job. And I was thankfully, you know, my leadership team and specifically Sanjay Pigaram, shout out to her. She had an open door policy with me, but she also trusted me to be in the room when I probably shouldn't have been, just to give me an idea of what's going on. Right. So if it's a student discipline issue and she's talking to a parent, I'm in the room with her. If it's a meeting, an admin meeting with the administration team, I was invited to sit in there. Not that I need to give input, but I got an understanding of what are they talking about? What are the issues? What is the system and the processes to figure out the solution for this, right? And if I could help out, then great. And over time, I did get comfortable to share my voice, and they did listen, and I had an opportunity to be a part of that, even though I wasn't an official admin, right? However, I was given the opportunities, like we're talking about, to be in the room, to understand what's going on, and to see that the job is so grand. There are so many aspects to it. And so that way I'm prepared for when the day I get promoted, that I know exactly what to expect, versus I've only gotten maybe 1 or 2 tasks as an aspiring leader, and then I'm completely shocked and overwhelmed when I'm actually getting the role.
If I can keep jumping, I'm sorry, Josh, you spurred other things. I've heard your story so many times about you advocating and getting in the office and trying to be around and stuff. Yeah. And I think a lot of times we kind of put a note and we say, well, if Josh isn't asking for and advocating for himself, then he clearly doesn't want it. But we need to remember, like, no. If we have not built a culture and an understanding that you can come ask for this, you can come tell me what your aspirations are, and I'm going to help you do it, then they may not come. They may not, especially if they've been in other roles or under other leadership that didn't like that, didn't appreciate, didn't have that. That's a hard thing to break. So it is our job as leaders to make sure they know, look, I want you to come tell me. I may not always be in agreement with what you want to do. I may not always be able to give you opportunities, but I need to know if you have these aspirations so that we can talk about how whether I think that's an opportunity or what you need to do in order to prepare yourself for that, or whatever it is, so that someone can then go, okay, I am going to advocate for myself by showing up because Josh said I can come whenever I want to his office. So I'm going to ask him for those opportunities too. But I think we need to be asked, like, pushing out and offering the opportunities more so as well. And to help them to identify those folks too. So just wanted to note that on there. So.
Well, I think it's a great segue into the next question, actually. So I'm going to throw this up, and I'm going to give a little context because I can't fit it all on the screen based on what Alex had said. But it sounds like he had a conversation with a higher up in the district who was giving him a compliment of saying, you're doing a great job. Do you enjoy your job? And he does. He does love his job. But the question, the core is, he has aspirations to be a principal someday. So he's asking, how do I love my current job while dreaming of a different role? Which kind of ties in what you were talking about already, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm sitting there going, how do I love my current job? Well, what do you mean how? Like, if you do, you do. And that's awesome.
It is awesome.
Right? I think about, I'm going to pull from a speech that was a great speech, but he's kind of had a falling out in his public eye. So take it for what you want. Ashton Kutcher did a speech at the Kids' Choice Award, I think Nickelodeon. And he did a really good speech about just things he learned before he changed his name, because his name was actually, I can't remember what it was in it, but he learned before he changed his name to Ashton, which is the middle, I think it was Chris or something like that. Anyway, one of the things he talked about was like, I did this job, and then I did this job, and then I did just this job. And he said, I never left a job until I had another job. And he said, I never did a job that was beneath me, meaning he never thought, no matter what his aspirations were, he never looked at his current job or past job of something that wasn't a blessing, that wasn't good for him, that wasn't something that he was thankful for having. And if you are in your job right now and you love it, and you could literally go home and you're like, no, I'm happy at my job. Like, I'm okay here. I'm good here, but I want more. That's awesome. That's literally an aspiration. Like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's a good thing. It is perfectly good to be good where you're at and say, I'm good here until retirement. And it's perfectly good to be, I'm good here, but I want to do more. Like, that's like the best position, because it's now where you're at now is not just a stepping stone to where you want to get. It's just the part of the journey that you're in right now. It's the chapter of the book you're in right now. I know this is Alex. So like, it's the space on the board game board that you're at right now, and you're just advancing. I don't know if he's a board game guy. So like, I think that's a great position to be in, and there's nothing wrong with, I'm thinking this is coming from a concern that if I say I want to do more, am I saying I don't actually love what I'm doing? And that's just the truth, right? So it's this, I've said it in the past of being like, it's content versus happy.
Yep.
I can be happy. Doesn't mean I have to be content, meaning I can still want more, but I can be happy where I'm at.
Yep.
But I could still want to get to other places. And that's where we should be. We should want something more. And it doesn't necessarily need to be in our career. It could be in anything. Right. So I think, I would say, Alex, like, that's an awesome place to be in. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's great that you love your job, and it's great that you want to do more. Nothing wrong with that at all. That means that your step to go and your journey from where you're at now to that other position is going to involve you making sure your current building and students and all the things that you do right now are taken care of when you make that leap, versus someone who just sees it as a stepping stone. And it's like, I don't even care. I'm just trying to get here and get out. So like you are actually the leader that should continue to grow because you're doing it the right way, in my opinion. So
yeah, Jeff, I'm going to quote a podcast that is called Making It Weird. It's a comedy podcast, but whenever something is quoted by someone that's maybe had some issues in the past, they just say scandal noted. And then they go on.
Scandal noted. I like that.
So we can do that with Ashton Kutcher and
scandal noted. Yeah. Scandal noted.
But I'm going to go back to what you're talking about. I think, Alex, two things. One, Jeff is 100% correct. You should.
Somebody clip that. Jeff is 100% correct. Just clip that and send that to me. I'd like to play that as part of my morning affirmations. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
He's 100% correct that it is, for a leader, wonderful that you want to do more. I think that's something, a character piece that all of our listeners should have. Second of all, yes, we've talked about a little bit, is there's politics in the school district. And unfortunately, sometimes aspirations make people feel uncomfortable. And sometimes it's a rat race of you're competing with other people. And are they my friends? Are they trying to actually allow me to rise, or are they trying to keep me in the same position? So I know that there's sometimes there's political games and relationships that you kind of have to be wary about because of that. But I would just say that what is currently happening is the perfect situation. And just like what Jeff was saying, is that if you love your job, that's going to show. And if you do well in that, then that means that the district is going to want to have you advance. Now, the problem is, and I've felt this myself, is that after you're in the role for a certain amount of time, you start to get antsy. And for myself, I wanted to like crawl through the walls. Like I wanted to get out, right? I did that in the classroom. I did that as an assistant principal, and I was ready for something more because I felt like I was not only doing the job, but doing it well. And I was bored. I wanted to explore other options. And for me, I wasn't getting that in the district. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because I'm in a great place now, is that's where the podcast started. That's when I started writing blogs. That's when I started presenting. That's when I started to write a book, is because I needed more for myself to expand. And I didn't feel like the district allowed me to do that. So what is that for you, Alex? Is, are you able to be your best version in the role that you currently are? Or are there other opportunities for you? And maybe it's in the district, maybe it's outside the district, that's going to fulfill your needs. And I think that just takes some time to assess what it is for you specifically.
You are 100% correct.
Clip that, putting on my bragging montage. All right, Jeff, let's go with the last question of our conversation today. What is going on with the Teach Better team?
Oh, so a couple of things I think that would be good for me to mention is currently the applications for the it's going to be the 2025 grid method certification cohort are currently open. So we launched that last year as a beta with the first group. It was awesome. We had 21 educators from all around the country go through this program. It's a couple-month program with a couple different phases of learning and becoming officially certified as a grid method educator, which was really cool. And so we're open that those are open right now. The applications are over at teachbetter.com, and those close on the 17th. So you have until 17th, so a little over a week, I think we're at right at this point. So that's over at teachbetter.com. You can find that. Or if you go to teachbetter.com/the grid method, or the actual thing is TGM certification 2024-25. That's a long one. Just go to teachbetter.com. You'll find it. And if you can't, just email one of us. The other one is we have another webinar. We did a webinar this past summer with Cami. If you don't know Cami, camiapp.com, awesome tool. And our good friend Stephanie over there joined us over the summer for a webinar. It was really, really well received by our audience. So we are doing another one on November 18th. And it's called Say Goodbye to Blah Lessons and Hello to Aha Moments. So this is going to be really cool. This is going to be with Stephanie again and our very own Megan Paulke taking that on. It's going to be a lot about how utilizing Cami connected with mastery learning, the grid method, so on and so forth, like work really well and improving your instruction to help your students thrive. So that's over at teachbetter.com/Cami webinar. So KAMI webinar, all one word. That'll get you signed up for that. That's free. And then we have another webinar that actually isn't even into our marketing yet. It's not going to launch in the marketing here for until after that Cami one, but it's with our good friends over at The Art of ISS. So The Art of In-School Suspension. This is going to be about, this is for school leaders. It's going to be on December 10th, actually during the day. So school leaders is the focus there. And it's looking at how we can transform the way we look at our in-school suspension programs to make them no longer just a place for punishment and holding students, but actually a place where learning continues. And Jonathan from the Art of ISS, who actually wrote the book, also Art of ISS, is going to share all the tactics and what they're using to actually see it utilizing this to continue learning and increase their academic success, but also lower in the percentage of students going to ISS and return students going to IS because of the way they are just transferring to look at it. So that's a really cool one too. That one, if you go over to, I forget the thing, it's teachbetter.com/mastering ISS webinar. So that's also free as well. So I think those are the three things that I got. I think that's it.
Yeah. I think if you just head over to teachbetter.com, you can see all the amazing resources and all the different links, but I will make sure that those links are in the show notes for folks so that you don't have to go and search, make it as easy as possible. For those who are watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Again, we'd love for you to push that subscribe, the like button, share it out. And obviously, man, if you can support the channel, that'd be great. I think we're growing, but I'd love to get some more folks on there to subscribe. And then of course too, if you want to rate and review the podcast, I mean, I'm always looking for that. I think we're at 55 right now and would love to get that a little bit higher, especially for my long-term listeners. Anything that you can do to help the podcast, share it out. That'd be wonderful as we continue to grow. And then of course you can head over to joshstamper.com to find more on the Teach Better team and all the wonderful resources out there. Yes, Jeff.
Did you already mention that I missed it? Did we talk about your other podcast? Is that a thing that can we promote your podcast on your podcast? Is that okay? Because that's a great podcast.
Thank you. Well, we
Is
can.
that okay, or do we need to?
That's
cut
okay.
This? Okay.
No, let's do it. So I've got the language of behavior. We've only got 2 episodes out. The third will out on Monday. And yeah, the wonderful Charlie Pack is joining me each week as we're touching specifically on student behavior. So I know that is correlating
She's brilliant.
She is brilliant.
She's brilliant. She's just super smart and just a nice person, but she's super smart. So that's an
I don't know why she decided to agree to write a book.
Josh, when we start asking questions like that, you and I, we just need to stop. It's not, it doesn't go anywhere good.
Nope, it doesn't. But that threat. I'm honored and privileged to work with her, not only with the book, but now with the podcast. And, we've been doing some free webinars too, to assist. And I love the opportunity to speak with her, and we're going to have guests once a month also. So we do have some plans to build the podcast out. Obviously my first love will always be Aspire to Lead, and absolutely love, this podcast. I've been doing it for, almost 7 years, Jeff, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It's definitely something I don't want to give up, but I'm super excited about the new project with the language of behavior. So yeah, definitely head over there, check out the first 2 episodes. Third one will launch on Monday. If you like it, love for you to subscribe and share that out too. We're looking for rating and reviews as we're just starting off that podcast too. So if you can help out.
If you don't like it, leave a nasty review.
No, come on now. Don't listen to Jeff.
It's data, Josh. You want to get the data. Come on now.
Actually, I should welcome feedback in any way, in every form. So
I have to go. I'm going to go. I have to head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a nasty review on this podcast. It's not a different podcast there, Josh.
Right.
Different. Yeah, it's not.
Of course. Well, we appreciate every one of you. If you do have a leadership question that you want for future mailbags, obviously Jeff and myself would be very appreciative of that. So you can reach out to us if you need support in any way within leadership, within your school. Obviously, the Teach Better team is here for you. We'd love to support you in that. So reach out to Jeff or myself. We will have the contact info, of course, in the show notes or over at joshstamper.com. Jeff, I appreciate you so much. Love these conversations, but love connecting with you. And can't wait for episode number 32 in the future.